Welcome back to another episode of the Borough for Borough podcast, where we take a bite out of the Big Apple real estate scene. Today's an extra special episode because we are joined by a powerhouse in our industry and our brokerage, Brown Harris Stevens, Louise Phillips Forbes. Can't wait to dive into all things luxury real estate. So as a reminder, I'm Matt Winter.
I'm Scotty Cabrera.
I'm Tracy Byers.
And I'm Isaiah Ajala.
And again, we are here with the amazing Weezy. So let's give it up for Weezy.
Thanks, guys.
So
Happy to be here.
Oh,
Thank you for
we
coming.
are so excited to have you here. You are a superstar. You know that, right?
I don't know about that. I'm faking it till I make it.
All right, well, keep faking it because you are making it. But for those at home who don't know about Weezy, tell them a little bit about who you are, your journey. Give us the facts.
I have been in the business. I'm born and raised in Nashville, Tennessee. I came to New York for the lights of Broadway as a dancer, and I was like many actors and, performers. I was slinging a lot of drinks and modeling and catering, and somebody said, "You'd be great in real estate." And I went to get a job, and somebody gave me a job, and I didn't know it was commission only. But fast forward 35 years later, over $6 billion in sales. Wow. I love. It's, not really, I used to think it was brick and mortar, but it's really a business of people. And that is where I thrive because that connectivity just fills my soul.
100%. Like your energy, I'm sure, is probably radiating through the camera because anyone who's come across you knows that not only are you an authentic person, but also, you really are inspiring. I could definitely say you've inspired me, you've inspired all of us. Yeah. But for someone to have seen that early on, did you see that in yourself? Did you see that, regardless of what you came to New York to do, that this would be?
No, I don't think so. I think that whenever I had to talk about money, my Southern accent came out. I was like, all we need is another 5,000. But I think that I just was a curious person. I mean, I had no Rolodex, and my first deal was $63,000. I literally was hustling to ask brokers to share open listings with me, and I kept my word. I said I'll come back for anybody else I have for this, and I honored it, and I did a ton of deals like that.
That's amazing. And then from your first deal, 63,000 to $6 billion with a B.
Wow.
There's not every day that you hear that. So that success, do you think that it's something that obviously it took a while to get there, but do you think that it's something that it clicked one day and then you were just off to the races, or do you think that it was something that you slowly had to get there?
I think that for me, I have a degree in special education and elementary education. I used to work with special needs kids, and many people who know me, I'm sober 35 years, and something clicked because when I was trying to sell real estate, I felt like I was having to value myself. And that was very difficult to sort of, from a philosophical standpoint, but me as an educator was supernatural. And me, the ability to be of service, it just took everything else out of the equation. I just show up and do my best for you, with you. And the rest will come.
Wow.
Yeah, I can definitely see it in your Instagram, especially with your videos. You upload a lot of videos. You make sure you stay in front of your audience, and you give the most educational videos on real estate. And I think that is super.
Thank you, Tracy.
Now, let me ask you, did you always start in the luxury market, or how did...
I was like the one-bedroom queen. I mean, when I teach at Rebney or somewhere, if I'm doing new agents, I always sort of say, close your eyes, guys. So here's me today, but I used to wear unitards with green cowboy boots, a prairie skirt with shoulder pads in them. So keep coming back because things will change. But the creative visualization of even thinking of myself as a business person was its own process.
Sure.
And for new agents, I think that's really important is don't be somebody else. Be yourself.
Sure.
And, a lot of people didn't think I was very smart because I was Southern. And whenever I talked about money, my accent just got thicker and thicker. But the truth is that was exactly where I go, which is comfortable. Right. It's just who I am.
Sure.
But no, I was a one-bedroom queen. I would meet somebody at an open house, and poor people, couldn't get rid of me. and it was one deal at a time. And then I woke up and it was like I sold that girl a studio, and then she got a boyfriend and his 1 bedroom, and they were going to buy a 2-bedroom together. And I mean, I've done 9 transactions with some individuals, and then it's gone to multi-generational.
Yeah.
So
That says a lot.
yeah, I would say that if I looked at something that feels good about looking at my history is that the repeat business is 85% of my business.
Wow.
That's pretty powerful if you think about it. I didn't think about it that way
Absolutely.
until somebody asked me that recently.
Shows that you're trustworthy, you're knowledgeable. You know, people are open to working with you, of course. So that's important.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. The first question: what's your take on where the NYC luxury market stands right now?
I mean, I'm always bullish on NYC. So, you know, I think it's one of the most amazing cities to have the privilege to be in some of the, you know, where it's just a capital of the greatest talents of all different industries, and to have the privilege of working with people on something I think is so important to me. It's where I'm safe, it's my home. The luxury market is really efficient, more efficient than it's been in 6 years. And, you know, you have highly educated purchasers who won't even tolerate something $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 priced incorrectly. And they'll just save it. And all the algorithms that we get, as much as I'm not a fan of Street Easy, you can look at the saves, and in 30 days, there's a correlation to the number of saves and the appointments. So that is really not being afraid to speak your truth and what you're observing in the market. But I think we're really in a very strong position despite the insanity in the world around us. It is all the more reasons why we have a stronger anchor to real estate, because when there's volatility in other countries, in the stock market, or a president that tweets every 3 minutes, you go to something that's a user asset and a long-term growth asset.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of Tracy's question, have you seen a correlation in what buyers are looking for in today's market? All options.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, you know, location, but location is moving. I mean, look at the growth of Brooklyn. Look at the growth of Bronx. Look at what developers are doing, and the anchors in areas from what Sunnyside, Queens, like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
My friend partner in a law firm, sold her apartment on the Upper West Side, bought a townhouse. You know, it's like a 25-footer for like $1.2 million. I mean, who knows what that's worth now? But it's really it's transportation. It's what's happening in the ferries, and the ferry that has launched in 2017, and the usership of that offers such a great tie-in and another option for commuting. It's $121 to $140 a month, and a different way to travel, particularly in the summer. I think that if I compared in the first quarter of 2024 and the second quarter of 2024 to this year, we have the sales volume was 1.4 billion to 2.4 billion. That's a 56% growth, and 90% in the cash deals that are being done for 3 million and below. That is huge year-over-year change, and the internationals are coming. The more volatilities you see in different countries, we are a safe haven for money place holding, but also because they're planning for their children's future.
Sure.
Yeah, and obviously the headlines don't always help us, but I think that's where having an agent that someone knows, trusts, hopefully likes, where they can actually ask these questions and be able to really break it down. I think a lot of our value, we've always talked about it, is really being able to kind of like debunk some of these myths, because, you know, the social media machine is going every 5 seconds.
For sure. I mean,
and everyone's an expert.
Yeah, and I think that's also a lot of noise. I think you have to realize that the news, honestly, they're like 12 to 16 weeks behind what time it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sensationalization of facts take away from what the reality is. And so, again, what's right for one person may not be right for another, and not disagreeing with somebody, acknowledging that what your truth is and what your experience with your other buyers. I mean, I find that everybody's so concerned about this mayoral candidate, and honestly, some people are looking at it as an I look at it as an opportunity
Right.
as opposed to a pause button, because any of those people that have created long-term value, whether it's in stocks, whether it's in tech, whether it's in real estate, those moments where there's uncertainty is when the opportunities are there.
100%. 100%.
Absolutely.
And in the new development space, you have a building on 96th Street, right?
No, on 79th Street.
79th Street.
I've
And
got
that's been selling.
Yeah, we're done.
Like-
We only have four one-bedrooms. We're launching the penthouse. Shout out for 393 penthouse coming in the fall.
Nice. Nice.
So you've been seeing a big growth in new devs in the luxury market.
I mean, for sure. I mean, it's I think that you can look at anchors all across the city, whether it's, look at what's happening to the corridor of 2nd Avenue in the 80s and the 60s and the 70s. Everybody always wanted to be west of 2nd Avenue. Now it is a mecca for really high-end luxury developments. You have the same thing. I mean, look at what's happening with just every area of Brooklyn. You get an anchor of a development project, and then all these little sprinkles happen around it.
yeah,
And
you
it's
had
really
Park Slope. Now you have Gowanus.
Yep.
Developing that whole area.
Red Hook to
Red Hook,
Greenpoint,
yep.
and there are no barriers. There used to be. I mean, even East Village and Lower East Side, it was like nobody wants to go over there. But now it's like, oh my gosh, I only want to be in this by Thompson Park. I mean, it used to be like the heroin spot,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's now strollers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, New York City changes very quickly, but in some ways you see it happening over time.
Yeah.
And I do think something that after we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, definitely want to hear your thoughts on kind of how you've seen luxury overall evolve, because what luxury looked like, what it felt like, what people thought luxury New York City was, has evolved, because just like you said, there's Park Slope, there's all these other outer borough places that are now deemed
Sure.
luxury markets. So we're going to cut to a quick word from our sponsor, Roma DeBoss. Thank you again for your continued viewership, and make sure to stay right there. We'll be right back.
Residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
Hi, I'm Evan Greenberg with Langdon Title. I specialize in title insurance across New York, helping real estate attorneys, agents, and brokers close with confidence. I solve problems fast and keep your deals moving. Contact me anytime.
Welcome back to Borough for Borough. So before the break, we were having an interesting conversation with Weezy about the luxury market. And as you know, on Borough for Borough, we have a healthy debate going on of what the top borough is. And we know that you think it's Queens, so we don't got to ask. But I'm curious to know your thoughts about, what do you think about the outer boroughs, and where are the areas that you think are under the radar right now for buyers who are looking for luxury product, but may feel like they're priced out, or maybe want to explore outside of Manhattan?
Yeah, I think that when people are contemplating what their choices are, some people feel like they can't afford Manhattan, and some people feel like they can't afford parts of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And Queens becomes an interesting option.
Yeah.
Harlem pushes people also up even further. Hamilton Heights has some amazing architecture and some really interesting opportunity. So from a borough, I'm home in the city, not for nothing. I'll come and visit you guys and close a few deals. But I think every market has pockets of opportunity, and it's usually that borderline, what somebody wouldn't have done yesterday at that location. That's when you start to see an anchor of a development project, for example, that'll go in, and then 8 blocks away, you start to see the coffee shops. And so those are the opportunities that I think that those pioneers will benefit from and create true wealth.
Nice.
What do you think causes, I guess, I don't want to say migration, but the explosion of certain neighborhoods that are becoming trendy? Do you think it's the new development? Do you think it's government initiatives? Or do you think it's just price points?
I think it's a combination of we had a transformation that we experienced with the millennial generation in tech and people being able to work from home. And you have certain areas where an anchor like Tesla's 40,000 square feet in Brooklyn really becomes a migration for people. And then you start to see these little projects and big projects, which, have the 421A tax abatements. And, whether it's building a giant rental that's 400 units and then all the condominiums that happen from that, you're bringing retail, you're bringing bodies, and the commutability of that and what the trains are matter.
Yeah.
But I think it's not just development. I mean, I think it is a mindset of wanting more green. And that's how Park Slope started. And, people were in Tribeca and they just popped over the bridge. You know what I mean? It's been the metamorphosis of that has been a combination of all those things.
Yeah.
And I would also like to add, because I'm working with a buyer in Brooklyn and in Harlem, and we've kind of seen everything in Harlem, and we're moving it to Brooklyn now. But in Brooklyn, she can get pretty much double the amenities, all new apartments for the same price. But I think what's happening is there's lower monthly charges as well. So you have new developments. Yep. So her price point is about 1.1 to 1.2, and we're seeing lower common charges for brand new buildings versus in Harlem.
And those are also bigger lifestyle buildings.
Yes,
correct.
Bigger lifestyles with more amenities. And in Harlem, we're still seeing, common charges in the 1,000 to 1,200, and the taxes are also high. But she's not getting a new product. So I think also what makes people migrate, to your question, is like just what they can get more of in a certain neighborhood.
Yeah, more is always going to feel like more to a buyer because they're like the price, whether it's price per square foot, whether it's faster commute, whether it's closer this, like it's always going to feel like I'm getting more for my money. But that's why, I mean, we've talked about Long Island City, we've talked about even parts of the Bronx, where now people before may not necessarily have been as quick to flock to those areas. But the minute that you hit them with like a number argument, I've noticed that a lot more buyers are more willing to consider it. And all of the other things that would have been aversions, they're like, well, maybe for this price, I would actually consider that.
I was going to just ask, so out of curiosity, because we know statistically in New York, Manhattan, and the boroughs, that the first-time buyer is pushing close to being 40 these days. So I'm curious to know, for that particular client, is this a first-time buyer deal?
Yes, this is her first purchase, and she's been renting in Harlem for, I think, 10 years. So this is something where she's like, I love Harlem. I want to stay here. I feel like my roots are here, but I'm open to going to Brooklyn just because I see I can get a lot more for my money. And I also feel like she has more neighborhoods to pick from because it's like Bushwick. We're looking in Fort Greene. So I feel like
the commute stuff is really It's really manageable.
Yeah, I think they're willing to give some commute time just to have more to purchase.
Your Queens people and your Bronx people, are they drivers? How do they commute?
It depends. Well, it's always going to be Long Island City wins out because of the commute time.
Yeah.
And so you're getting the new inventory with shorter commute. But there's some folks, speaking of Sunnyside, I love that you brought it up because Sunnyside, we've talked on previous episodes, it is actually like a great value buy because you can get a slightly more residential feel, a slightly more like suburban vibe. And you're down the street from Long Island City. You're no further away from the city, but it can have a completely different vibe that you can either have a car or you cannot.
Right.
And so I do think Queens tends to be a place that people in their mind believe that I need a car. But depending on where you are and at the right price, you may not.
Yeah, and I think like for Bronx, pretty much like depending on what spectrum you are, if you're going further north, you're definitely going to need a car. But
Yeah.
if you're in like South Bronx, Grand Concourse area, you can get to Manhattan in less than 10 minutes. You know,
Right.
express train, 4 train, D train. So it just depends.
It's cool.
Yeah.
We were just at that new development, the Marina.
Yeah.
And I think the 2-bed, 2-bath goes for like
Like,
1.3-ish.
Yeah.
And the ferry is literally down the street. So you can get into Manhattan in, 7 minutes is the ferry
Yeah.
ride?
Where is that?
It's on Vernon Boulevard.
Yeah.
So basically the opposite of LIC, more towards Astoria.
Just a little bit further
And
north.
it's
Astoria is also a very interesting market.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, who would have thought the prices would be $1 million plus over there like 10 years ago? That wasn't the case.
Listen, the Brooklyn $4 million transactions are common for sure.
Yeah, and I do think, speaking of Astoria, I do think a lot of what we're seeing there, I mean, I'm obviously someone who deals a lot in Queens, so I'm probably a little bit more familiar with it. But the amount of new development that's taking place along that waterfront, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on just like, do you think that in terms of being able to spot where the next place is coming, basically just follow the waterfronts? Because it seems like that's where the developers are going.
That's a natural, that's a natural assumption, or I would assume developers are tracking that because,
Yeah.
again, one anchor, those anchors of projects that are successful, will then take them another couple of blocks down. So I think that'll be something to track in looking at the land acquisitions. But I also, if you remember when Bloomberg was in as our 12 years as our mayor, he rezoned 40% of our land mass.
Yeah.
And that was a tremendous building construction boom for all the boroughs. So it'll be interesting to see if we've got any smart politicians that might continue to support that growth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we had 87,000 people come back into the city just last year.
Yep.
And 27,000 of that was to Manhattan. I got a slice of the pie.
Just a little slice, a little bit of that $6 billion.
What's your favorite neighborhood in Manhattan?
Well, I'm an Upper West Side girl myself. I like to be able to go into a store where they know me, and I'm like, I don't have my credit card. I'll pay you tomorrow, and I can still do that. That's like I needed to make New York small.
Yeah.
So, but I'm a West Village girl. I love the East Village. I mean, there are parts of Hell's Kitchen that are interesting to me. Brooklyn is, I shout out to my friend Samaya, who opened up this amazing Lebanese restaurant called Sawa at St. Mark's and Fifth. So I'm just I'm a backyard girl. I like New York to be small for me.
I like that.
Very good. So, Weezy, you're very generous with information, with just your time. So, knowing that you have a collaborative approach, how has that helped you in a competitive market that we're in now?
I always would prefer to collaborate than to compete. I mean, we are in a very competitive business.
Absolutely.
But, I think there were several times I licked my wounds when I didn't get a pitch, particularly early in my career. But I always tried to say, so why that person? And I'm also, by the way, super happy when I respect the person that they chose, because then I know I'm actually in that
conversation.
I'm in the room.
Right,
I'm in
right.
the room. And I learned a long time ago that, the worst thing I could do is make my sellers feel uncomfortable and instead try to learn from, like, what was the pivotal point? Sometimes it's like, well, my husband works with his wife and okay,
Stuff
relationship.
You can't compete with. Yeah.
Right.
Relationship, cool. Or I liked that they talked about this, this, and this, and you felt that our apartment was actually not worth as much as they thought, and what data supported that wasn't there sometimes. But you just saying, like, you know what, I hope I'm going to have the privilege to bring a buyer for you, and please have what's his name call me, and I will roll my sleeves up and start working on this for you. So it's just, I think that collaborative and that how you handle disappointment is important. I also think always doing the right thing, both from a financial standpoint when you are in negotiations, like, I'm always the first in a, when I'm not able to accomplish the number that I want from my owners, you know, I'm the first one to say, okay, Matt, we're short. You want to put some skin in the game so we can make it work for your buyer and my seller. I'm happy we all four pitch in because that solution driven instead of drawing the line is really how you start to feel partnered with. And I think that has been a point on my career that I realize that sellers and buyers, they're coming here. They'll be here hopefully tomorrow, but you will be here for decades. And how we treat one another through generosity. I was doing an analysis, and I had a broker tell me that she was closing on a condominium next Friday, and she would email me what it sold for. And I would say, don't bother. I will have already figured out what this apartment's worth without that one piece of data that the 25 other brokers shared with me. And so I just think if we support each other, then you're going to be supported.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that because right now, as you know, our market is slow and we're not seeing things go into contract as quickly as depending on which neighborhood. Well, I would say in certain neighborhoods in Manhattan that I've been working in slower than Brooklyn or Queens, if that. So being that you mentioned that, what would you say to agents who are afraid to share in this kind of market?
You snooze, you lose. I mean, I think that what else do you have? Like, you can't make up the market. So you have a seller who wants to sell their home for a certain amount of money, but nobody's coming. Well, that's why I use things like Street Easy and the saves. Like, I've been on the market for 14 days. I have 23 saves, and I've had one appointment. What's wrong with that picture? People are waiting for us to drop the price. And collaborating with things that go to contract, that is the real-time market, which is non-public information, and that the value that I hopefully can bring to you another day, you're giving to me today. So that gift should continue to be reciprocal. And it's short-sighted if it's not.
What would be some of the biggest challenges that you have working with a seller and a buyer? Like, just one biggest challenge in today's market right now?
I think that it's trying to, I think the instead of positioning as a challenge, I think that the art of it is making them people and making them hear their needs. So I think me as a seller's agent, it's really important for me to understand the buyer's issues, needs, thoughts, what their background concerns are, if they had a hoarder that lived down the hall from them, that they want to know all about the neighbors. I need to collaborate and hear that. You need to pick up that data from the other side, which is why I like to be at the appointments. I like to ask questions. And I think that instead of it thinking about what are the biggest challenge, that's what I find to be one of the barriers to a successful transaction. And that if I hear what Matt's buyer's issues are sooner and articulate them, then I can start partnering with him on what I have control over. I don't have control over getting the price lower than certain number, but I have control over solutions of other terms, if you will. But I would say that today's market, listen, everything is so much more expensive. Common charges, the carrying costs, what's happening with the local 2797, the efficiency ratings, all of the stuff that's happening that buildings have in front of them. Being able to understand what's been done for the last 10 years and what's going to be done. That is probably one of the biggest challenges. And to have an agent who takes on a listing, it's been on the market for 95 days, and they don't even have the financials, I don't even understand that. So, sorry. Just saying.
I'm sure we can relate. We all can relate.
I have a question for you, though. When did you say in your 35 years that you felt like it clicked, like it all started to slow down or make sense? Because obviously you're full of wisdom. But a lot of that wisdom came from experience. Was there a point in your career where you're like, wait a minute, I've seen this before. I know what to do in this situation, and I think I got this? I
think having no easy path, you learn a lot. So I lived on $30 a week. I just didn't have a lot of money. And, I didn't have a Rolodex. I mean, all my friends were dancers and models and actors and And, you know, I built my business one deal at a time. And I guess that it's through always finding the joy out of it.
Right.
You know, like I didn't mind working 7 days a week for 7 years. I'm happy I don't have to do that today. But that was like me beating the system, you know. And, you know, I did a lot of, like I said, I had trouble thinking of myself as a professional because I was just wheezy.
Right.
And so I think, you know, I did a lot of creative visualization. I don't wear prairie skirts and cowboys. I mean, I wear cowboy boots when I do line dancing, but
Can't take the Nashville out the girl.
you know, just saying. But I think that it was really mastering niches of markets. Like I was known as the one bedroom queen on the Upper West Side. And I also have this blessing and curse of being dyslexic. So I had this incredible memory for numbers and details. Like I remember the fax number of 408 Columbus at Halstead, 874-7000, just to be clear. But so I had a knack for remembering maintenances. So when we used to do ad busters, if you all probably are too young to even know what that is, but we would on every Monday go through the newspaper on all the in New York Times and some one bedroom apartment on Riverside Drive with an $878 maintenance. I'm like, it's 11 Riverside Drive, 8A, and they were like, how do you know that? So those little things, which were annoying information in my head, became masterful data points.
So I have a question. So you've been in this industry over 3 decades. You must have seen a lot of ups and downs, a lot of mayors in the city, right? I want to know from you some horror stories and some success stories. It could be personal or what you've heard from some of your upper colleagues.
I mean, listen, September 11th was just a paralyzing months. And, you know, and everybody was expecting our shoes to fall off, and they were all coming in. I mean, I remember open houses that we would have 80 people coming to them in Tribeca, waiting for thinking that they were going to have these great opportunities. I don't think it was in a cruel manner. I think it was just like, you know, there were opportunities, interest rates kept dropping, there was a pause in our market, there was devastation emotionally. It's almost like people were like afraid to move on with their lives because it was out of respect for the mourning. But that was a very difficult, dark time, just like, you know, COVID was very dark. And I mean, I remember when I wasn't supposed to be in the office, don't tell Alan Kersner, but I would walk home and there was not a soul. And I live on 75th Street in West End, and I walked from 499 Park, and there was not one car, one bike. The Mandarin Hotel had lights on with a smiley, and I was like, there's nothing smiling about that. But you know, I think it's really what I'm mindful of is that New Yorkers in our worst times are the best people. Right. And that I'm never going to bet against New York. Whether it's a mayor, whether it's a governor, whether it's a president, we are the collective of the most masterful talent, and we're privileged to be here. And it's expensive to live here.
Absolutely.
But there is no ceiling for us as brokers. No, you know, we can always work harder, but there's no ceiling. There's nothing anybody can keep us from doing in servicing our people.
Right. Yep. And then your success stories. Do you have any success stories, any closings
your
that you
deal.
Your
My favorite deal?
Something you thought wasn't going to close that you were able to take over the line.
There's a lot of those. I mean, listen, I just had one yesterday that was very, very challenging, and it was a very emotional transaction for the sellers because they had lost their mom, and the maintenance was the common charges was really, really high, like $4.20 a foot, and it was a way too big of a 2-bedroom. It was 1,600 square feet that I bet the way it was measured is more like 1,800 because it was built in the 1980s. And we couldn't give it away. And it was, I got the best message was the seller walking to the bank to deposit her check, and she's crying, and she's like, "I'm just so grateful to you," and that is
That's the
what
why.
feels great.
That's what we do it for.
Believe me, I think that actually cost me to work that transaction because it was not a very sorry about that.
Okay.
It was not a very big transaction.
Yeah.
Wheezy.
What is your biggest
Oh,
transaction?
no.
I'm sorry.
No, you got it.
What is your biggest transaction to date?
Well, it depends on if you count a whole building.
Okay.
260 million.
Okay.
But
We
if you
count that.
count an individual transaction, I've had a couple of 17, 18, 15, 12s. I don't really soar in that
Sure,
market.
sure.
I mean, I love doing that, but I would rather, I mean, I just about to close something for $360,000. That's a 1-bedroom walk up in Hell's Kitchen. And I sold it to her $1 million years ago. And, you know, that was probably my $63,000 deal. But
Appreciated nicely.
you know,
What's your sweet spot?
I mean, my backyard's the Upper West Side, and I would say that I do about 90 transactions a year. But I'm all over the city. I mean, I just closed a beautiful penthouse in Tribeca. I've got a project. An apartment in the East Village. Several things on the East Side, but the West Side is where I roll.
Okay. Respect that.
I mean, you say you do 90 transactions a year, which is amazing. And I'm sure Wheezy, that was, just getting started, is probably like, wow, never thought that would have been possible. But where do you see the next for you? I mean, you're obviously not slowing down and you're not stopping, but what's on your North Star to keep doing and to do more of?
I want to figure out how to work more efficiently. I mean, like, I don't mind the sweat equity. I'll do anything. I mean, I don't mind, but I want to figure out how to have a succession plan for, I mean, I'm 63. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud.
63?
I know.
Wow.
Don't tell
You
anybody.
look good.
I'm just 12. but I love what I'm doing. But I want to slow down. I want to slow down, and I want to have the pillars of people on my team that can run with the philosophy that I believe in, and keep doing what they're doing for my friends and family. I have like 17 godchildren from doing what I'm doing.
Really?
So
Okay.
they really can't get rid of me.
All right.
Oh, man.
Well, speaking of 17 godchildren, you have quite a busy family life, right?
I do.
You've got a couple
Two
of
boys.
couple of
My
boys.
son just graduated from high school. Kenneth, shout out from Salisbury.
Nice.
Right.
Shout out
He's
to Kenneth.
playing football for Trinity College in Connecticut. My other son just finished his internship at CBRE.
Getting them in the business.
Well, they just bought their first multifamily in New Haven, Connecticut.
Nice,
Nice.
Look at
nice,
that.
nice.
It's
And then
amazing.
you're social. You're into like Soul Cycle. You spend a lot of time.
I'm
on
Soul
on
Cycle
tour.
girl. I'm a punch girl. I'm
Yeah.
Sports Lab. I love to surf.
Right.
Okay.
Love to
Staying
cook.
active.
How do you combine all of that? Being a family person and
Good thing I'm a morning girl and a night owl. I mean, you know what? My work is play.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to enjoy it. But there are days that it's not fun, and I just got to unplug.
yeah.
Sure.
Nice.
Wow, Wheezy, I just want to say thank you first and foremost,
I'm
making the
so
time.
happy.
We've been trying to make this happen for a while, and
I
this
know.
is perfect timing. But before we get you out of here, for those who want to keep in contact with you, where do they find you?
L Phillips at bhsusa.com or Wheezy _ that's WEZE _ says SEZ.
Nice.
Wheezy.
On Insta.
Nice. Make sure you follow her. She is one of my favorite follows, and you will not only learn something, but you will always be entertained.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Wheezy.
That's a
appreciate
wrap.
it.
That is a wrap. So make sure that you not only like this episode, share it, and make sure that you are following Borough for Borough so that you can stay up to date with all of our previous episodes and everything that we have in store for the rest of the year and beyond. This is another episode. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Thank you.